fun to be here. It's so seldom that you meet a full room with people with the same passion and interest in data like we do today. And the energy when I stepped in during this morning was fantastic, and I hope this conference will continue that way. I work for Scania, and I will talk about a bit different topics than you've done previously. So I got assignment to reposition Scania Financial Services in the digital era. Is there anyone from Scania here? Woo! So, but I work for financial services, and that means that we are 1,200 people, not 57,000 people like the rest of Scania, and we are in 63 countries. So that means that we are one of the top 3 biggest financial providers in the world, to spread, not to volume. But it also means that we are regulated under central banks, and in some markets we don't have to have that status. So when I got signed on to this, it was basically 5 months before the pandemic broke out. So I had our first workshop in the epicenter of Italy, where it broke out. So I was heading home, and everybody started to feel sick. 2 months later, we find out that it's actually Corona. 3 months later, we start to get manufacturing problems everywhere because of the reserve part. I think many of you in old mature manufacturing companies knows this. So we had to send most of our data people home, and we had to send digital people home, and we had to send our management people home. Our corporate decided that let's take this opportunity and regroup and really meet the market where we need to be. So my C-level was spread out throughout our Traton organization. So I got new board members, I got new management teams, and in the market that we selected as pilots, were actually completely shut down, and we got enormous amount of health problems and also problems in the management team, because we had never, ever worked digitally before. So for me, this was starting a transformation journey in a transformation in a business landscape in a complete running in change. So what do you do then? I must say that we in this room, we want to talk about innovation and all the possibilities and what we can do, and it's really, really exciting. And I'm the same way. I mean, we can order cabs through an app. Not so exciting, but we actually have world music at our fingertips. We have Avatar, Abbas, we can go everywhere. And I get so excited when I hear about the AI. It's amazing. We can track our kids' diabetes. We can follow our parents in Alzheimer's. They can hear our voices. We can do so many things, and it's so exciting. But behind the scenes, that means that everybody has to now function in an ecosystem. And Scania, for one, are no longer in the field of just selling trucks and buses or engines. We need to sell solutions and provide vehicle as a service. And that means that we also need to regroup and start working cross-functionally in the company. Something that's been really tough on us. But it also means the financial services get an ever more important role, because we are going to own everything that we used to sell and somebody else owns. Now all of a sudden we're going to take that on our balance sheet. So we need to build financial capacity in a way that we have never done before. So behind the scenes then, what happens to companies? What makes it easy for me as a consumer, exhilarating, energizing, is putting a tremendous pressure on our organization. And as a middle manager, you often get to hear, you don't like change. You just, everything comes to you and it just stops. But the fact of the matter is that they have this hard nut to crack to actually keep the business going make all the money and the investment that we need in this group to evolve into the future. And if you had 10 people to talk with here, you actually have to evolve into the future. You might have 30 partners in crime all of a sudden. You're gonna become a mediator between all the cross functions. And in best cases also cross company where you deliver in a value chain. This in an organization that from the manufacturing paradigm where we have black belted in Lean and Six Sigma, taken out all waste, where all our markets out there are so slim on the verge of anorectic. And financial services have grown so much that we have more than doubled in 6 years, and we are on that progressive and aggressive journey. But we have come to a stage where we cannot grow anymore if we don't do the transformation. So we need to spend a hell of a lot of money, and we are really spending the money. But the thing is that the statistics, it looks really grim. I mean, 26 euros out of 100 euros goes down the drain, means nothing, doesn't produce anything. And then 44% actually produces something. We can't really measure, we don't really know, but we feel that it's going in the right direction. And only 30% is actually really good projects. These figures are actually a bit old. They're not from 2022, so I know that we've actually progressed even more now after the pandemic. But the fact of the matter is the mining manufacturing industry actually have worse figures than this. So how do we flip the odds? Because we want to do fun things. We want to get straight into AI, but we know we need to build the muscles. We need to create a lot of things before we even reach that goal. And we can read research and we can listen to the big fives. It's actually not rocket science any longer. We know what we need to do. And this is BCG's version of it. But they basically shows the same thing. We need to have an integrated strategy. How many have an integrated strategy? Oh, not many. Yeah, good. As a matter of fact, still research shows that most company has got to that in some way. Leadership commitment. I think I got a really good leadership commitment, but we got the burden on the management. We need to deploy high caliber talent, one of the toughest things we have to us, because that's almost impossible. We needed agile governance. This is where we run into problems. Effective monitoring of the progress. We're quite good at that. Business-led modular tech, we are fighting. I have my partners in crime here who's been helping me on the journey. So what do we need to do to flip the odds? So if the middle manager actually have this pressure on them, and everybody from us are saying they don't like change. They really don't. But the thing is, they don't mind change. In Scania, we do continuous improvement all the time. So we do changes in all shapes and forms. But it's the sudden, large change that goes, takes a full stop. Because that means that we are actually we are threatening people's ability to do the job. And me, as a manager, an early adopter, like the rest of you, I can even be energized and inspired by organizational statistics and making sure I'm going to take it to the next journey with financial targets, put a bit of purpose in that, and I'm all set to go. But most people are not. They don't actually come to work because that's the most passionate thing they have. They love their families, they love their interests, that spare time. So they just want to have a decent job with a decent salary, with decent and good people around them. So how do we flip the odds? We knew we had to do something because this was tearing out both my digital group of people and the business people. So, and I thought I would have to fight with the business people, but as a matter of fact, the change because it was change on every level, transformation in a transforming company, in a transformation world. And change is hard, transformation is hard, but digital transformation is even harder. So we needed to see how we could transform and make sure that we created the pull. So we got inspired by a researcher at Handels too, but we actually talked to so many universities, researchers, know-it-all people, gurus, everything to try to figure this out. And we knew that if we could do the tipping point, diffusion of innovation, I think most of you have heard it. It's actually kind of old. It's from the 60s. If we could take the early adopters, we would both energize our tech people to stay and like to work with these people, as well as they start to tip and actually start to talk. This one worked really well. But change and action to change does not occur because of rational explanation of why. And I get exhilarated by that. And a lot of you do, but most people don't. Again, we needed to figure out how we could move into a much better response on the emotional side of it. And then everybody said, let's do it. And since the manager was so packed with transformation and they were competing, I mean, of course we need to do automated, electrification, and we needed to change our engines, we needed to change everything, drive the shift on the market, so they didn't have the time. So we needed to put this out on this group, agile way. And I did that at the first time. So we tried in a small project to flip the numbers because our numbers were no better than the statistic I showed you before. So the acceleration almost died all the time. We kept on doing it. We delivered value, but slow. So I realized that the crowd, like you always also meet everybody with logic and not knowing what to do as an emotional response. So we need to now, and we're trying this now, so I'm not saying we have solved it, but we have tried it in 2 projects, and it's actually working quite well with the business and the tech people. Change curve, how many of you have seen this? Yeah, so a lot of people have seen this. We have it in the management teams, we have it in the management training, but the fact is, nobody knew what to do in this change curve. Everybody could explain it to me, but what do you do? When you meet somebody in shock, if they're shock happy or shock worried, what do? This is where you actually need to use your rational and logical side. So this is where it starts. If you don't do that, somebody who is in shock happy, they're going to have so much expectations on what this is going to deliver that they're going to be disappointed later. Whereas the worried one are going to be in shock, and you really need to tell them and help them get their own narrative. What do you do when you have this? People in complete denial. You know, in complete denial, you must make the message alive, come alive, mention it, write it into your strategy, make sure that every meeting and manager and people keep dropping it, not pushing them, just dropping it. Give them exercises to do. As a manager, you constantly need to talk about it, but it's not the manager who will move the people, it's you in this room. Then we come into the worst stage, and this is the number 1 biggest problem in all companies. Because frustration is so hard to move. This is where people start to point fingers. You didn't do it well enough, the data wasn't good enough, you're not that good, you should have told me this, explain to me in detail, I don't like these people. So if you haven't worked your group together, this is going to be the worst. And this is where we always hit the wall. And the worst thing was, or at least for me, I did not expect my tech people to also be in this. So we had the management, but Linda's never been this before until you came in with your program Unity or your business business performance management. So why now? Because Linda has never been in a change before of this size. And she's never been in a transforming company like this before. And you need to start to actively manage this. And frustration phase is actually the only phase where the manager needs to go in and push. But you also need to come here. And I would actually invite you all to be kind on yourself as well. Because I could see that all of us was there. My managers were there, I was there, the people were there, we were all angry at each other. If you manage to get people to push through this and really meet them with facts and ask them to bring your facts, start gap listing whatever they're not happy with. Start with short list and slowly make them work through it with you. This is only facts that will come down. Empathetic listening and facts. If you start to take the why story here, you're going to go head to head and it's going to go worse and it's going to start to spiral. So facts, gap list, empathetic listening, but don't get sick with the patient. Then you move into low energy, also depression phase, according to this researcher. And by the way, this research is still alive. If you look at the numbers today, it's still going to show you the same thing. Whether you're having a divorce, whether you're going through a big change, or this is where you, as a manager, need to chop up all tasks in smaller tasks. So you here need to become even more agile. You need to almost on a daily basis summarize what you have achieved and then go to the next step and see what you achieved and really celebrate the smallest of the smallest activities. And this is actually where you as peers do more good than a manager. So this is really where you have to put your energy into it. Then people start to experiment. This is the great phase. People are all open. This is when you need to start to talk about demonstration, getting down to the details, being pedagogical, listening in and see what you can do with it. Because everything you have shown them up until this phase, they don't remember. They don't know. They don't know where to do it because they've been in denial phase and in frustration phase, so they have locked it out. This is where my tech people always go, but I've already done that. They've already seen it 20 times. Do I have to do that again? It takes my time. But we really do. We need to take a coffee, slow down the tempo, demonstrate again, keep teaching them. And if you're like me, a bit impatient, you need people beside you that can repeat and repeat and repeat and repeat and energize and energize and energize. And for that, I will be ever so grateful to you, Henrik, for that enormous work you've done at Scania. And then you come into a decision phase where everybody make up their mind. Do I want to be on this journey? Have you noticed that there's been so many stages before this? And I can also see that people get so annoyed, but it's already decided. I don't need them. The managers has told us to do this. This is not a social club. We actually need to produce value. That's why we exist. But this is really a key moment when the group come together and talk. Integration is really when it starts to come alive. So I would ask everybody here to come and join us, help to run the battle of the numbers, try to flip the numbers. We need more money than ever. We know that our management teams are going to spend more money than ever, but we also need to be part, and we also need to take responsibility for everybody's change, including our own. So I think it's possible. I've seen it been possible. And sometimes people like us actually do a lot better job than the manager is doing. We people like to actually connect with other people, and that's only done through the groups. So thank you.